Hey, you guys. Good morning, everyone. So happy to have you here today. As you know, I am Melissa Backey. I am the senior trainer for MetroList. And also we have,
Hey, I'm Dave Howe. I'm the Vice President of Client Success and my favorite subject of compliance, which we'll talk to you about today. We certainly do welcome you and miss you all dearly face to face. We really look forward to when we can do that again. Hopefully in this hot weather, you'll have a cold beverage of your choice. If it's alcohol, it'll be for medicinal purposes only. If you're at work, just keep that in mind. And our promise in this series, this is Melissa and my third in a series of events that we've done, and we promise that they will be topical and timely, and that is our ultimate promise into the future. So thank you for attending today.
absolutely. Thanks for that, Dave. So let's get going here. So today we're going to be going over listing rules and MLS tips. We have so much great information to share with you. Again, I know you see us on camera, but we figured we'd put some of our, model pictures up here. Before I go through and run down this list of topics and all this great stuff we're going to cover with you today, I wanted to share with you, a few things. We actually have two other amazing people on the line today. We have Nicole Prim and Kristen Summer. Now, what they're going to be doing during this webinar is they're going to be fielding all of your questions. They're going to be giving you assistance and whatnot. And absolutely, as any of those really good, like hard-hitting questions come up, they're going to throw them to me, and we will absolutely answer those as we go throughout the training. Something else, just to reiterate, this training is recorded, and about an hour after it concludes, you will get this exact recording. So if you want to go back through and watch, Dave and I again, you can, and learn, go back through the learning process and everything that we're going to teach and cover today. So I'm going to run down the itinerary of what we're going to go through and cover, and then we're going to jump on in. So again, welcome and good morning. So today what we're going to be going over is I'm going to first jump into how to create a scheduled hot sheet. This was something that was launched just a little while back. It is fantastic, you guys, and especially with the way the market is, moving and shifting at this moment. I love setting up these scheduled hot sheets. They're phenomenal. So we're going to walk you through that. The next thing that we're going to go through is days on market and the cumulative days on market rules. And Dave's even going to talk about how to reset, DOM and CDOM. From there, we're going to go through the Cloud CMA flyers. I'm going to walk you through, and I love that as a marketing piece. I think it's phenomenal. So we're going to share that with you. On market date, and so we're going to go through all the ins and outs of the on market date. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through the new market watch. I love the new market watch. It's phenomenal. And I want to show you best practices. This was just launched not too long ago, so we're going to go through that. And last but not least, Dave's going to take you through the rapid fire rules updates. So super exciting stuff to share with you today. So the first thing that I am going to do is I am going to jump in and show you the scheduled hot sheets. I'm going to do a live demonstration here. So let's go ahead, and I already have my window pulled up here. And you can see here I'm at the MLS dashboard, and I want to go through and show you how to go in and, set up scheduled hot sheets. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go right here into Prospector Plus. And that's under your MLS Essentials on your MLS dashboard here. So let me go ahead and click on that, and I'm going to launch Prospector Plus. I love the scheduled hot sheets, you guys. Hot sheets are such a great way for you to keep your finger on the pulse of the market. And the fantastic thing now is the fact that you can absolutely schedule them. So let's go through that process. So if I go to searches and I'm going to go to hot sheet, we have two hot sheets and you can actually schedule both. Let's go just through the top one, just the hot sheet. So again, hot sheets are just a phenomenal search that you can use to see new listings, back on markets, increases, reductions, and again, really keep a close eye on your farm or market area. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Hot Sheet, and you'll see we pull up this initial search screen. Now, I get a lot of questions on, well, your date, time, and your date range or days back. Which should I choose when I'm setting up a hot sheet, whether scheduled or just a regular saved hot sheet? Well, here I have, your date range selected. And so what that's kind of doing for me is kind of locking a proverbial line in the sand, if you will. And so the next time I run it, it's just going to show me the most recent changes. Well, from the last time I ran a hot sheet. So you can see I ran one today at about 9:30 a.m. So it's only going to show me anything from that point on forward. Sometimes when I have agents run hot sheets, after we're doing this in class or we're doing this live, what ends up happening is they go, well, I'm not pulling up any changes because, well, nothing has changed in the last 30 seconds. So you might have to modify that date and time if you perpetually run your hot sheet. Now, let's go ahead and I'm going to go and we'll take a peek at days back. Now, whether you do date range or days back, I want to show you here, I'm going to point this out, you can go a maximum of 15 days back. This is, again, I'm going to reiterate, a great search to keep your finger on the pulse of the market. Not the best search to solely look for active properties for your clients unless you've shown them everything out there, because anything outside of 15 days, it's not going to be displaying for them. So let's go ahead and we're going to set one of these up and we're going to schedule it. So I'm going to do, how about the last 7 days? So days back, I'll just do 7. I'm going to kind of do a broad range hot sheet, if you will. Now you'll see what I'm not going to do today is I am not going to select changes. For instance, new listings, those can be active. New listings can be on hold, which is a property that's temporarily off market. New listings can be pending already. New listings can be canceled. So if I want the actual number of new listings that have hit the MLS in an area I designate within the last 7 days, I am going to leave that blank. Now, something else that I'm not going to do today is I'm not going to choose statuses either. And I'm going to show you how that functions as I pull up a hot sheet, okay? Because I want to see all status regardless of change. So now the next thing is I need to go through and I go, okay, well, I'm going to do residential. Let's do single family residence. And I'm going to go ahead and plug in an area of Granite Bay. Okay, and so here I just type that area in, and I love that it pulls up the code 12746. And of course, I could have clicked on the lookup icon, selected Placer County, and then chose Granite Bay, but I figured this is a little bit of a shortcut and easier way to do it today. So right from here, I want you to notice that something has changed. Instead of just saying save with the old 3.5-inch floppy disk, which we all know and love and still, well, don't use, you're going to see there's also a schedule here. So I could save or schedule this before or after I run the hot sheet. But let me go ahead and I am going to click search. And I want to show you how to pull that up and save it or schedule it after I run it. So look at this, within Granite Bay, I'm going to go down through the list and I have 13 new listings, and you'll see here. So this one here was new within the last 7 days, but it already went pending. And this is the reason I do not select statuses, because I kind of want to see everything that's happened. I can see 4 that are back on market, and hey, guess what? These 2 that are pending, they were back on the market, but they actually went pending again. So they were active, pending, back on market, and now they're pending again. So that's what that's telling you. 6 price decreases, 1 contingent, 15 pendings, and 1 which is closed. Now on a hot sheet in this format, as you can see in the upper right here, right hand corner, this is a hot sheet standard, and it will actually display 50 listings per page. So what I'm going to do next is I'll go to the second page just to display the remainder of the listings, and there's 3 inactives. Okay, so even though this is pending, it was inactive during that 7-day range. Now, the great thing about a hot sheet is whether I run this a day from now, a week from now, a month from now, it's always going to show me the last, and if I click here on, it's going to show me the last 7 days. It's going to show me all changes, all statuses regardless of change, residential, single family residence in this area. So again, Now, let's say I've seen the results. I want to go ahead and schedule that. I can click on Save or Schedule. And let's say I name this, how about Granite Bay? And I can say Market Watch. Okay. And now, instead of just clicking Save, and I could save this and run it whenever I chose, but let's go ahead and I'm going to click More. And guess what? I can now do a scheduled email. I could do a daily or a weekly email, which is really cool. So if I want to do it every day or 2 days, every 3 days, I absolutely could. Now, if I choose to, I can change the subject here. And, I can kind of tailor this per my client. I can select a start and an end date, and by default, it goes a year out. You can see here. And now I can even pick a time of day that it goes. So if I go, okay, well, you know what? I want this to hit my client's inbox, first thing in the morning. Absolutely, I can do that. Now, it will automatically be sent to you if you chose to leave that selected. And then, of course, I can send this to a client here. If I can spell, there we go, CC, BCC if I'd like, and I can go ahead and click Save. Now, what happens when I click Save in the lower right-hand corner, you're going to see the Search Granite Bay Market Area has been saved, and now that's set up as a scheduled hot sheet. So you might be wondering, what does that look like on my side of the world? So let me show you. I've actually created an example earlier so I could display just that. So I'm going to go in here to my email, and you're going to see here I have 2 latest listing activity. And you guys, I'm my own best or worst client if you've seen me teach before. So you're going to see here, this is what it's going to look like when you send this to a client. They're going to see, look at, there's 4 back on markets. It's going to give the date and time you scheduled right here. Okay. They can see there's 11 closed, and you're showing them what their farm or market is doing. Now, if you receive this, it is almost identical to what your client would be receiving. Let me go ahead and show you. So if you receive this as an agent, do you see the little tiny change here? Is here we go. I can actually have a link to click here and log into the MLS, and then I can go into my full hot sheet. But this is nice if I'm on the fly or out in the field and I want to see what my market area is doing. I get this lovely little email right from here, which is fantastic. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close out of here, and I want to talk about a few last things with scheduled hot sheets. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go back to my home page, and that's in the upper left-hand corner here. And there's a couple ways that I can go and check out scheduled hot sheets or saved hot sheets and review or revise. One is right here. You're going to see I have a module that's displayed here in my upper kind of right-hand corner of my Prospector Plus dashboard. Remember, you guys, you can move these modules around wherever you see fit. If I left click and drag, I can put them in my favorite location if I'd like. Now here you can see I have this one as I put my cursor over this little green calendar that I have this scheduled. Here is where I can actually revise the criteria. Now, if I want to go in and manage hot sheets, there's a couple different ways I can do this. One is this blue button right down here at the bottom of this module, Your Saved Hot Sheets. Another area is right here under Searches. If I go to Saved Hot Sheets, I can go ahead and select that. Once I do, I can also go to Manage. Now, when I click on Manage, look at this. So I can go in and to any one of these. I can click Schedule here, and I can come through and I go, okay, well, maybe I want to modify this and I want this to start going at, 9:30 in the morning. I can go ahead and click Save, and it's been updated. Now, if maybe I want to get rid of one of these, I absolutely can delete right here. You guys, you'll notice you can revise again the criteria. I can run this at any time. Or, hey, maybe this Davis hot sheet for this time, maybe I want to go ahead and just turn this off. I absolutely can just toggle this on or off. No matter what you choose here, once you click save and refresh, it will actually apply to whatever hot sheet or hot sheets you've modified. So one of the last things I wanted to point out here too, and I'm not going to go into it, but you can absolutely also go into the hot sheet map and schedule those. You know, what if you want to view a hot sheet around a subdivision, around your own farm or market area? You can draw on the map. And again, if I go into it, you'll notice here you can also save and schedule. So you have the same buttons, same functionality to draw, to add in your criteria, and then run that from the last day to, well, out to 15 days. So absolutely leverage both the regular hot sheet and the hot sheet map. Get those scheduled for yourselves. I think they're a phenomenal way to get updates on the market. All right. So what I'm going to do next is I am absolutely going to throw it to Dave. And we're going to talk about, he's going to talk about the days on market and the cumulative days on market rules.
Yeah, thank you, Melissa. And, you know, I got to tell you just a little bit on what you were talking about in your presentation, that it wasn't that long ago that the scheduled hot sheet did not exist. And so what a lot of agents did is they actually set themselves up as a prospect to actually get that to occur. But the problem was, when you do that as a prospect, you only got the client information. So seeing how you can set up a scheduled hot sheet and then have it email you with directions on how to go directly to it at the MLS, and then to be able to map the properties is just absolutely a progression, a phenomenal progression. I do want to point out to the users that it was one of you out there, probably on this call, that told us that that would make better sense if you got the hot sheet to be able to email you when those reports came out versus having to set it up as a auto prospect. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, so very, very cool, Mel. Great job as usual. Now, recently, I think all of you are familiar with days on market and cumulative days on market and possibly how to reset those. In working with the NorCal Alliance, we actually saw that one of our trading partners over in San Francisco had actually put written definitions into their MLS rules defining what each of these were. We didn't have them written. We had them on educational materials and such that you could see, and we have spent a lot of time trying to educate and successfully educating, by the way, all of you that are on this call. So recently the MLS committee approved, or the board of directors approved, rules changes for us to actually place the definitions into the rules. You have 7.64, which is days on market. I will read this to you only this time. Days on market is the total number of days a listing is in the active or contingent status on the MLS. When the on market date is reached, the days on market will display 0 and begin accrual. If an active listing is placed in hold status, the days on market will pause from the inactive date entered and resume accrual once it's placed back in an active or contingent status. So what that ultimately means is that you have capabilities within the system. We'll talk about the advantage of using a future on market date here in just a moment. But the days on market is calculated very specifically off that on market date. And we believe it's one of the best tools in the shed with respect to not only overcoming seller objections to listing, but also accommodating periods of time where someone might go on vacation or something where they need to put the listing on hold. And that provides us the opportunity to actually hold that listing's accrual of days on market. Next, in the definitions, we have cumulative days on market. And this is the, you got the days on market field, a slash, and then there's another number out there. A lot of you have asked, why is that number in the second position so much higher? Well, there's reasons for that. It could have been listed with another agent prior to, or the first contract went through its process and did not conclude in a sale. So the cumulative days on market will continue. So 7.65 Cumulative days on market is a cumulative number of days a listing has been in the active or contingent status and includes the historical. So that's the key here and distinction with CDOM is it's the historical days on market activity for all listings entered for that specific assessor's parcel number or APN. If an active listing is placed in a hold status, the CDOM will pause, and just like it does with days on market, from the inactive date and will resume when it goes back to the active or contingent status. Next, we would have probably the most important question is, we get this a lot, how in the heck do I reset these things? So we have 7.6.6, resetting days on market to 0. The days on market, DOM, will reset to 0 anytime the listing is entered as new with a valid listing agreement. There's no minimum waiting period required for a listing to be entered as new to reset the days on market. An example of that is someone lists a property, it's on the MLS for what, 2 days these days, and it closes, at the end of that close date, and let's say it's a flip situation. So the new owner turns around and puts it back in the MLS with a new agreement. The days on market will be 0 at that point because the transaction ended successfully the last time. Next one up would be how to reset the actual CDOM. This is under 7.6.6. And by the way, we're getting ready to publish all of this. So you will see this on the MLS in the next couple of weeks. You'll be able to study it, ask questions, certainly call us if you do have any questions on how any of this works. The cumulative days on market will reset to 0 once the previous listing status is changed to closed. So if there's a successful sale, property comes in, it's listed, it actually sells, the status is changed to sold, the days on market and CDOM, if that listing was relisted, with both reflect a 0. In the event that the listing, the cumulative days on market would pick up the accrual. Hold on a second here, getting a little message here, but would pick up the accrual from the last listing. So let's say that some other agent had it listed for 90 days, it expired, you picked it up again a week later, you listed it, your days on market might say 91 on the cumulative days on market. Your days on market will be 0. So B here, CDOM will reset to 0 after the previous listing has been in an expired or canceled status and has been re-entered with an on-market date greater than 31 days later from the inactive date of the previous listing. So a lot of times you will call our compliance department and say, I want to relist this property, but I want to reset the cumulative days on market. What do I have to do to make that happen again? Well, you will always hear the same response is that you have to wait 31 days to be safe. Not all months have 31 days in them, but we always say 31 days. And then when you relist that property, it will show a 0 on 0 days on market versus CDOM. Then the next thing that we would have is some notes here that the CDOM will not reset to 0 as a result of an expired pending status. This status reflects the listing is pending, but the listing agreement between the seller and the seller's agent has expired. So that's just more of an informational note for you to have on the resetting of the CDOM. Okay, next up. Thank you. CDOM will not reset to 0 as a result of the hold status. The hold status is a no marketing status, and it's really a status condition that when another agent picks it up, they can actually see that the property is still under contract with the previous listing agent or the current listing agent, and the seller has requested that the marketing be temporarily suspended. Anytime you change the listing status to hold, you want to have the seller's instructions authorizing you to do that. That's one of the things we do check for from time to time. Okay, Mel.
So we have a question. So contingent status should stop days on market. It's an accepted contract. It's pending, or kind of more of a statement, but.
Well, that's a good question. In the rules, there are a couple different pending sale statuses. One is the actual PS that says pending sale. Another one is pending sale, obviously with bringing back offers as a special listing condition. We also have two statuses that work kind of in a dual part manner, and those are the contingent show and contingent no-show statuses. These are statuses that would reflect conditions where an offer had been presented. In accordance with the rules, the MLS rules say if you have an accepted offer, you have to put it into one of the accepted offer categories or pending categories. And in addition to the pending sale status, you have contingent show and contingent no-show. Well, contingent show and contingent no-show also will appear in search results along with the actives because there is a desire for that to occur. So as an example, you have an offer on a property. If the listing is out there on the World Wide Web or on your broker website, wherever the user or the consumer might be looking, it's important that along with the actives that the contingent shows for sure and the contingent no-shows also appear on that list so that the consumer can actually see and provide you with some indication that they may be interested in making an offer on that property. Again, that would be the choice of the listing agent to reflect that, but in both cases, that would satisfy not only inputting the listing into the system with the correct status of a pending sale, but also give you the opportunity to continue to show it along with the actives.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Just making sure we don't have any questions. Okay, we're doing good. No more questions so far, so good. So that was some great information, Dave, on days on market, cumulative days on market. I'll tell you, when I'm out training, I frequently get asked about resetting, the cumulative days on market and how to do that. So that really clears that up. And again, fantastic information to share. So the next thing that I want to go over with you guys is one of my favorite quick tips is the Cloud CMA flyers. I don't know how many of you guys have leveraged the Cloud CMA flyers, but I love sharing those with you. And so let's get to it. So as you can see here, I'm back in the MLS and I'm going to go ahead and click back on my home page. Now, I could do this from one or two places. One of my favorite things if I'm coming in and I'm doing something quickly is to actually come here to, well, the MLS dashboard. Because guess what? Quickly, I can actually get to Cloud CMA right from here. But of course, you can also get to it from the Prospector Plus dashboard. So if I scroll down, we'll find this module called the single sign-on. And again, I have Cloud CMA right here. So for flyers, I'll need one of two things. I will either need an address or I'll need a listing number. And I did a little homework before I jumped on the class this morning, and I found a property to show you as an example to pull in for a flyer in Cloud CMA. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to click on Cloud CMA. I'm going to launch it from here, and we're going to pull up the flyers, and I want to show you some of the options that you have. Now, Cloud CMA is such a phenomenal product, you guys. We love teaching it. If you guys get a chance, we go through the whole gamut of everything from your CMA buyer's tour, property reports, and the flyers. So today I'm just going to be covering this component here. Now, of course, I've updated my profile. I have all my information. I have my company logo, and you're going to see that display in the flyer. That's what makes it unique, and it looks like it just comes from your brokerage, which is phenomenal. So I'm going to go to the flyer here. I'm going to click on that, and what I'm going to do is you'll see here, and I love using my highlighters. You guys can tell. I'm going to go ahead and click here, create flyer. So let's go ahead and get some really beautiful flyers. So here, I'm going to create this flyer, and I have actually a couple of long-standing clients, and some of you may have met them before. I have Mo Money, right? We all love Mo Money. So we got Mo today. I could put some private notes in here if I'd like. They don't appear on the report, by the way. You can see that here. Now what I could do is I could add the address or the MLS number. So I just happen to have one written down that I grabbed earlier, again, just for time purposes, you guys. And let me plug it in here, and I'm gonna go ahead and fetch that listing. So you'll see next it's going to take us to step 2. And you know, one of the phenomenal things I love about Cloud CMA is no matter whether you're doing the CMA, buyer tour, property report, or flyer, these steps are always the same. Criteria, listings, customize, and publish. And it makes it so incredibly intuitive. Again, it's one of my favorite programs to teach just for those reasons. So now I can see, okay, here is where that property is. And I have that kind of positioned here. If I wanted to go through here and I wanted to look at a few more details, I absolutely can. You'll see here you have the access to the property description. If I want to modify it all. And by the way, if you modify the property description here, it does not change that description in the MLS. So just FYI, you might be wondering, why am I mentioning updating the property description? Well, depending upon the flyer you choose, each one has a designated area for pictures and description. Some allow you a little more type or text than others, and you'll see as I show you some of those different flyers. So let's go back to the top, and now I want to get to customization because that's the most fun part, right? So we're going to go up here and I'm going to click Customize Flyer. And of course, I could click on these links as well. So here I'm going to customize it. And you'll see right off the bat, I have the last flyer that I utilized in here. I have lots of themes that I can leverage. And so this is a modern theme. I have some layouts I can choose from, some font styles to select. I can change the title and also can modify the description here as well if it's kind of pushing some of that text off the flyer. So as I scroll down, and this is just one that I already have pulled up, look how beautiful that is. You can see just listed. The great thing is there's not a lot of color except for the photos to the background, so it saves you a little bit of ink, which I love. You guys, some of you who've seen me teach, lovely Miss Audrey Hepburn is my agent photo, by the way. And you'll see here my logo pulls through, all my contact information. And you'll see at the bottom there, I love pointing this out, you guys, because I absolutely want you to be aware of this, but you can kind of see here, the text kind of cuts off. So maybe I would want to modify this so it does all fit on one flyer. Now, if I wanted to make a different selection for a flyer, I can come up here to the themes at the upper left. And so I have this modern sienna and gray. Now, I really am a fan of the modern themes. They are newer, as you can see here, and they pretty much cover every color for almost any brokerage you can imagine. Now, they also have some classic themes and different color palettes as well that you can choose from. Before I get to the classic though, let's go ahead and why don't we change to modern, vivid blue and gray. We'll go ahead and choose this theme, and I want to show you a few different layouts within that theme. So here, this is our layout number 7, which we already took a peek at. Here will be displayed the way the photos will be laid out for each particular flyer. So I can see here I can have quite a few photos. I can have a large photo kind of shifted to the lower left or upper right, you know. So again, it's kind of pick what you feel works best for you and your clientele. So here, how about I pick or select flyer number 2? It takes the first 2 photos. You'll see again, now I do have room here for the description. You know, from time to time, and this is something that I get asked frequently, can I change the first 2 photos? Unfortunately, you can't. These are the first 2 that shows in the MLS. So, you know, what that might prompt you, though, to do is think about when you input your listings to the MLS, what are your first 2 photos that, or 3 or 4 that you would love displayed on a flyer? I always challenge agents with that. Now let's go ahead and so again, that's how your modern themes look. So let's go ahead and scroll down here and let me show you some of the classic themes. And I'll just do here, how about blue and silver? So you can see these are a little more colorful. There's the QR codes. You can see here as well. So I can absolutely go through here and choose those themes. So if I want to come through here, you're going to see some of these change from the modern theme. And again, I'll go back to the modern at the end to just, again, show you the nuances, the differences. But here, if I go to layout, so here is layout, again, lovely Miss Audrey. Here is all of the pictures of the property, the first few. And again, you're going to see the description here. Now, the cool thing about the modern theme is it actually pulls in or allows your client to pull up a full property detail report. And how does it know what detail to pull up? Well, the last property report you pulled in here, and property report is kind of just like a synopsis of the property. You can add school information, business information, just some general information. Whatever one you had in here last is exactly what we'll pull into your flyer. So just, again, little pro tip there for you. So, but yeah, they can scan the QR code. I think a lot of us have gotten used to doing that this year, right? And they can pull up that full report, save a little bit of paper, which is really nice. So here are some of your different layouts that you can choose from. So come in here and absolutely explore these, please, as you would like. So if I'll do one more here. This is number 7. You can see here, welcome home. Again, here's a QR code, a little bit of a different position. No description on this one, by the way. But yeah, absolutely come back through and take a peek at those. Now let's go back through, and you will notice with this one, you can change the font and you can modify the description if the page allows for description. But the one last thing I want to show you is, again, some of the differences here. So pay really close attention when I go back one last time. I'm going to go back here to the modern theme. So one of the last things I wanted to show you about this is you can actually here change the title. So you have the fonts, and both of them you can change fonts with. So if I wanted to go here and, maybe I wanted to do railway, okay, I can absolutely apply that. Maybe this is one of my favorite fonts. But on the modern themes, this has a little bit extra. It allows you to modify the title, which you could not do in the other theme. So look, just listed, for sale, for lease, open house, coming soon, just sold, just closed, new to market. You'll see here I can change the title to fit, my flyer and, again, what I'm trying to market. Now, if for both different types of flyers, if you ever want to come in here and you do need to modify the description, you can do so right from here. Now, once I'm done, I can go ahead and hit that handy dandy publish button. I'm going to go ahead and click on it, again, upper right there. And you can see here it's publishing for Mo. And what I can do is, of course, I could view this as a PDF. So let's go ahead and take a quick peek. So I'm going to click on that here, and you'll see here, new to market, beautiful. Okay, showed just as it displayed earlier. This does open in a separate window, so I can close out of it. And absolutely, I can email that report or copy the PDF link and embed it right into an email. So those are how you pull out some quick and absolutely gorgeous flyers out of Cloud CMA. So again, how we jumped into Cloud CMA. We again came from the Prospector Plus dashboard here, or homepage, whichever you choose to call it, and I clicked on Cloud CMA. Or remember, from the MLS dashboard, I clicked Cloud CMA. Once I launch Cloud CMA, you're here to the Cloud CMA homepage. I can click on Flyer, and I can walk back through those steps, you guys, those intuitive steps. Once I click Create, I love it because I can go through criteria, listings, customize, and publish. Just make sure you have the address or MLS number, and you can only do a flyer for one property at a time. All right, so what we're going to do next is we are going to go back to the PowerPoint, and we are going to talk about OMD, on market date. And we have some awesome stuff on OMD to share with you guys.
Well, not before I get to comment on what I saw there. So if I'm can I call you Miss Hepburn?
Yeah.
So if I'm a listing agent, the first two photos are pretty important. I learned something there. I did not know that, and I think a lot of people would share that same sentiment on the call today. And then, man, QR codes have come such a long way. I remember when they first came out, and it was like agents would put just this giant ink blot on the real estate sign out in the front yard, and now it's been interwoven into the flyer, and they're so common. They work with every camera on every phone now, and those are just fantastic as well. So anyway, nicely done. On market date, the on market date is actually a field within the multiple listing service when you're listing a property. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the major benefits are. Besides we knowing as staff, it's the best tool in the shed for you all out there when you're listing homes. We know it's super important. It helps you absolutely secure the listing and satisfies the mandatory submission of a listing. Your brokers out there put a lot of pressure on you to make sure that you get that listing agreement at all costs. Certainly that's money in the bank these days when you're successful at that. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in depth here in just a moment. Next up would be the ability for it to overcome seller objections. A lot of you have told us, you're in a presentation mode or talking to somebody and they say, it's just not quite time. Why might that be? I'm going on vacation, or I've got, some sort of special condition with the listing, or the house isn't ready. And so we'll talk about that as more. It'll actually allow you extra time for staging, home maintenance for your customers, or them to return from vacation. Obviously you have all these situations where they want to delay the process. And I would just say any delay in the process of taking the listing is not only unnecessary, but it's extremely risky. You never know what's going to happen in those brief moments, week or two, that they may be on vacation, or say they're getting the house ready and they'll call you in a week. You just don't want to put yourself at risk that way. So the on-market date helps you overcome that. It actually, to satisfy the MLS rule of mandatory submission, we have a 3-day rule, and the 3-day rule says that you have to put the listing in the MLS, and by putting it into the MLS with a future on-market date, you actually satisfy that rule, but at the same time don't expose the listing when using a future on-market date to anyone outside your office. So by putting a listing into the MLS, you can get started on it. You can start working on your comments, organizing those 2 photos that need to go up front, along with your photographer, accommodating all those types of things. But it allows you to get the listing into the MLS so that we can see it, and so that you don't get picked up on a 7-6 violation. So the question that we get quite a bit is, how far out can I set the on-market date, and can I modify it? And the answer to that is, on the calendar, you can get it out there to 120 days. Think of it kind of as a tool where you can slide it back and forth. I think of my dad used to play a trombone in the Marine Corps band, and you think of the sliding back and forth. You have complete flexibility with respect to when the listing goes live, and that actually has to do with a very special thing that occurs between you and the seller, and that is a complete conversation about that activity. When the on-market date is reached, the listing is viewable by all agents and all brokers. It will go out on all the websites. It basically lights up that listing, so you can use that strategically in your listing strategy with the seller to make sure that that happens in the best possible way. And then ultimately, the benefit of using a future on market date, which so many of you desire, is to keep that days on market down, or that number down. It will display a 0 when the on market date is reached. Just keep in mind that when using a future on market date, it's a no marketing category, which means that you can't go out and put a sign on the property, that type of thing. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Okay, next up.
Actually, I have a question for you. So if I enter the listing with a future on market date, can I place a for sale or coming soon sign on the property? And I'll tell you, not only myself, Kristen and Anthony, we all get asked this all the time, and it's such an important question.
Yeah, it's a common question that we get. And normally when we're face to face and we get the interaction with the folks, certainly Bill Miller and I have been out there talking quite a bit about this. The answer to that is no. You can't market prior to the on market date. And normally when we are live face to face, I would say, I ask the crowd, does a postcard constitute marketing? Everybody goes, yeah. Does a website that you would develop constitute marketing? Yeah. Does a sign on the property of any sort constitute marketing? And everybody agrees. So it's more of a common sense thing. It's when the property's on the market. I know we get challenged on this from time to time, which is why we've actually identified marketing within the MLS rules for your reference if you'd like.
All right, so I actually have just a random, an extra question in regards to on market date. And again, it's something that I absolutely get this all the time. So I thought I'd throw it out here to you today. So if I have property with a future on market date, can I share that with the agents and my brokerage, say at a office meeting or something to that effect?
Yeah, that is a great question, and I'm for sure to be of interest to folks on the phone. What happens within the confines of the organization or the office is the office's business. And so what that means is that if I've got a listing that's coming up, or I have a listing with a future on market date's not ready, the sellers are out of town on vacation, whatever the case may be, I can share that information with my colleagues within the office. You just can't go outbound with it. No communication to the consumer, no communication out to other offices or other agents from other offices while it's in that condition. So, Melissa and I have been in literally hundreds of your office meetings. You always get the sheepish agent that says, well, I don't even know if I should be talking about this. Fear not. That is not anything that we have any concern about, and you should feel free to be able to discuss openly the marketing of properties within your firm that have not been exposed yet.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so next we're going to talk about on market date, seller objections, vacations, and staging.
So Yosemite, Melissa is celebrating her second wedding anniversary. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And her and Brian are going on vacation, and we're just going to do a little role playing with you here a little bit. And so imagine that I'm a real estate agent and I know Melissa and Brian, and we have a conversation about listing their property. They're very excited about doing it, but they have this Yosemite vacation. They're going to hike all over the park during the month. And so we get to talking, and let's say that as an example that today is the 17th, and we're looking right here on the 17th. Ignore the calendar dates on there, or the days of the week, please. And so we have this conversation, and Melissa and Brian say, we're going to go to Yosemite. We're not coming back till the 29th. And we absolutely don't want anybody in our house. We need some time to get the place ready, to wash off all that dirt from hiking all over the park. And so we want to hold off on listing the property until then. So knowing that I have this cool tool called a future on market date, I can very easily overcome that objection by saying to Melissa and Brian, hey, look, there's a significant amount of work that I've got to do to get your, that when we list the property, of things I've got to order, got to put up, get signs ready to go on. I got to get lock boxes ready, marketing materials, all this stuff. We got to plan some open houses into the future, but we have to also work with your schedule as well. And what I would recommend that we do, and I can promise you that I can list the property and submit it to the MLS and then hide it from view from everybody, so that no one sees it. No one even knows it's there other than me and my broker. And so Brian and Melissa feel comfortable about that. So they go ahead and list with me. That's a check in the score box for you, because if I don't do that and I wait for them to come back, and we've recognized in some situations, Melissa and Brian or whoever your seller is will just say, time out, we're not doing anything with you until we get back. But if they do, it's better to secure this up front. And the reason is let's say they're hiking through Yosemite and they get up into lower Yosemite Valley, and lo and behold, you know, their water bottles are empty and someone's over there has got plenty of water, and they hit it off with this other couple. It turns out that the other couple is a real estate agent and her husband, who's also a real estate agent. And you get the sad Audrey Hepburn face, you know, coming back, or I do on the 29th, where they go, gosh, Dave, you know, you're a real nice guy, but we actually wound up listing with somebody while we were in Yosemite. And, you know, that can happen at any point in time. So overcoming the seller objections due to a vacation, staging, or whatnot, you can do that by using the opportunity to share that you've got this future on market date. It'll make your broker happy because you secure the listing agreement. It protects you during that period of time, that nobody's going to come in and snatch that listing out from underneath you, those two sellers. And ultimately, you then have an opportunity to have a conversation with your seller about the marketing of that property.
So with future on market date, how long do I have to get that input into the MLS?
Yeah, you know, it does tie very closely to with the 3-day rule. So let's go ahead and we'll just use that 17th as our example. Sure. We have a rule, mandatory submission, Melissa, which you and I are very familiar with, and it's 3 business days. Or actually, I should say 3 calendar days. So if I take the listing on the 18th as an example, so we actually secure the listing on the 18th. I actually would have to have that listing into the MLS within 3 days beyond that. So if I go 18th to the 19th, that's day 1. Day 2 would be the 20th. And as part of the rule, it says if the act or event lands on a Saturday, Sunday, or legal holiday, the actual requirement wouldn't be until the next actual business day. So that would actually be the 23rd. And that's consistent with the, and you're doing really good with the Etch-a-Sketch there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
But that's actually when I would have to be ready, and it would have to actually be put into the MLS. So how that works, the 3-day rule again, I listed on the 18th. You know, the date on the 19th would be day 1. Day 2 would be the 20th. The event happened on the 21st, or the requirement, again, consistent with your contracts out there. So I would have to actually have it in by the 23rd. And at that point, I would be listing it with a future on market date. I'd keep the MLS compliance heat off my back, and keeping everybody happy at the same time.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. So that was some really amazing information about on market date. Love sharing that stuff with you. It is such a phenomenal way, you guys, to, again, secure the listing. And I've heard Dave not use my story of Yosemite, but use a Tahoe story so many times. And it really drives the point home why it's so important to secure the listing, not only just to maybe have that listing before your clients go out of town or go on vacation or wherever they may go, but also maybe just in case you do need to have some work done to the property, or you do need to do some staging. It's just such a phenomenal tool. Love, love, love it. All right.
I would add just real quick, Mel, is that all these examples that we use are not ours. They're yours. And that's what we get when we interact with you. We hear these real life stories of how these types of situations go down. So again, thank you for your contribution. Thank you, Melissa. Back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So next thing is the market watch. And hey, by the way, you guys, I'm getting some questions that we're speaking to some slides that we had up earlier. I promise you I'm going to address those at the end. So thanks for bearing with me. I'm getting a few from Nicole, and I've had a few of you personally message me. Promise you, I'm going to get to them at the end. All right. Before we get to those, a few last things, you guys. Quickly going to take you through the market watch. Market watch is absolutely new. It used to be called the 24-hour market watch. So let's go ahead and let me close out of Cloud CMA here, and let's talk about the market watch. So, you know, market watch, what I've called the market watch for years, is your thermometer of the real estate market. I have had agents come back to me 10 years later. Believe it or not, this July will be 17 years for me teaching for the MLS. And I've had agents come back so many years later and go, I came to your class. This is one of those things I learned, and honestly, it has helped me so much. And I can't tell you how many times I have gotten that feedback from you guys. And they're exactly right. It's phenomenal. So it is absolutely like a gauge of the market. Now, they've done something to it which is phenomenal. Well, they've answered a question that you guys have been asking me for years. Can I leverage more than one market watch at a time? And previously you couldn't. You had this one that you set up previously under admin and preferences. I'm not going to even point it out because we don't do it there anymore. And you could only set up, you know, your specific areas, and then you'd have to go into preferences to change that. Well, now you have this great little tool right here. It's a module instead of 24-hour market watch. It's called Market Watch because, well, first thing, you can go out to 7 days, but even more phenomenally, you can actually add your own searches to this. So you can add your own market watches, if you will. So you're going to see here, you do have one called MLS Wide. If you're looking for maybe your existing 24-hour market watch, the one you had before this transition, and again, this is so new. This is just within the last, 6 weeks or so. It is going to be called My Market Watch Areas or Districts. So now any of these that you have set up, you can click on the star, and what that means is when you come to your home page here, that will be your market watch, and it's going to display all the activity for the area or stipulations that you've put in to your searches. Now, there's also a way to add a save search, and you can manage these market watches. So let me show you quickly how to set one up. So I can just come here to any search I want, which is awesome. If I want to do a map search or a quick search, a radius, any search I want, and I can go ahead and select here. Now what I can do is I can go ahead and, okay, so what do I want to focus on? Where's my farm? What's my market? How do I want this displayed for future use? So let's say for today I do residential. And you know what, maybe we're gonna focus on single family residence. And now what I'm gonna do, if I wanna see everything, not just the changes, but I wanna see statuses as well, I do need to select all of these. And I know this isn't normal, but for the market watch, you'll have to do this. Now here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come down to areas and districts. And I'm gonna come through here and I'm gonna go, okay, well, maybe in Sacramento, and let's say I wanna focus on Citrus Heights. Now, could I focus on, do a market watch within a particular price point or a square footage range or, particular bedroom and bathroom range? Absolutely. I could add additional criteria, whatever I would like that's going to, again, help me with me and my clientele. So what I would do from here, it's just like normal. I would go up to save, and let's say I name this, CH, and this is my market watch. And of course, you can name this whatever you guys would like. Now, I'm going to go ahead and flip this little lever on. Now, I'm going to click Save here. And now that is going to be on my Market Watch module, my home page. So let me go ahead and click back on the home page. Now, I'm going to click on the drop down and look at this. This is my Citrus Heights Market Watch. And this is the last 24 hours. Now I could go back 48 if I want to go back 2 days. What if I want to see what happened there's the last week, and you can see it's showing me not only the changes, but it's showing me all the properties that are held within the statuses that I selected, which is why I chose them. All right. What if I've been leveraging a search for a long time? I know you guys come to me and you guys go, hey, Melissa, I kind of always have the same kind of clientele that are looking for 3 bedrooms, 2 bath with a pool, 1,500 square feet to, whatever square feet in Rockland, California, or various different searches like that. Well, you can actually add a saved search to these. So if you have these saved searches that you just love and you want to add it to your market watch, well, do it. Here, I'm going to click on this button here, add a saved search, and I can come through here and I can pick whichever I would like. So this is one way to do it. So if I want to come through here and I want to select, maybe I have this, Fair Oaks search, I can go ahead and select that. You've successfully added Fair Oaks as a market watch. Do you want to make this your default? And I can say, maybe I don't want it my default. I can say no. And that has been added to my market watch, as you can see here. Now, there's another way that I can add that, and I want to show it to you. So if I go to searches here, I can actually go to save searches. Now, I want to show you this, and I'm going to use my handy dandy highlighter. Manage here is going to be the same thing as manage here. At the lower, you're going to see right-hand corner of that market watch module. All right, so I'm going to come in and I'm going to click here. And again, same link. I wanted to show you have 2 access points. So look at, I can actually turn these on or off as well right from here. So if I ever come through here and I go, hey, you know what? Maybe I want to turn Citrus Heights off, or, maybe there's another one here that, Folsom with pool, I want to turn on. I absolutely can. Now, of course, just like I was speaking to the hot sheet earlier, I can delete, revise, run. I can rename if I'd like to. I can even turn this off. If I wasn't leveraging the Folsom with pool search for the time being, maybe I'm focusing more on, Amador County or Yolo County or a different area, I could even turn this off as a search. So you have all these functions within here that you can apply. Now, when I click save refresh, said that a little too quickly, you're going to see here it saves everything you modified. If I go back to my home page now, if you've added, renamed, whatever, it will absolutely take effect. And I can go through here and then go to those market watches. But I love this. If I want to go to my El Dorado County, this is land 1 to 20 acres. This is the last week. I can take a peek at that. If I want to come here and I want to look at my Placer County, this is condos, townhomes, and halfplexes, and I want to see what the market watch has been for the last week. There I go. How cool is that you can have that right at your fingertips? It is something that you guys have been asking us for years, to be able to leverage multiple different market watches. So I really wanted to show you that quick tip, this really new, awesome tool for you guys to utilize in the MLS, your market watch. All right, so let's go back and we're going to get back to the PowerPoint, and I'm going to throw it back to Dave for your rapid fire rule update. Look at that.
Rapid fire, we're now in our bonus round. We are running a couple minutes over. We hope you will hang with us for a little bit. We promise not to disappoint. Rapid fire rule update. This will go pretty quick. The MLS committee and the board of directors have been very active. A lot of you have been asking about the rules enforcement process, and I will just tell you that as Melissa is a systems trainer and that entire team, they teach on the systems. We have a compliance department that is also an education arm of MetroList. And why is that? The reason for that is that MetroList rules enforcement is an education first approach. We are looking for data integrity. I think when I look on your agent profiles, almost every one of you say, integrity first. And that's very, very important to us with respect to you making representations off of information within the MLS. And so we really are not in the business of collecting fines. We do on bad days for folks, but ultimately if you contact us and talk to us and give us a chance to educate you and illustrate some understanding that you're not really trying to do the wrong thing, then you're not ever going to get a fine from MetroList. So with that, I will tell you the first thing that has happened, we have had an issue with our fine structure in that what had happened is that someone would be in violation of a fine, they would receive it, they would pay it, and then they wouldn't fix the listing in the MLS. They would take no corrective action. So then we would send them another citation and they would pay it again, and then they would not fix the information in the MLS. So the only way that we could get attention of the folks that fall into that category, and actually you guys have been asking for this for a long time, is to raise our minimum fines within the MLS. Our minimum fines used to be $100. Actually, they are currently $100. They're going to change to this structure that you see here in the near future. But a lot of folks would just go, it's just the cost of doing business and I don't care. And those are the folks that really will encounter activity such as this. The majority of folks out there never do. So MetroList is raising the minimum fine for all MLS rules violations to $250. And for those rules with graduated fines to reflect an escalation as follows. First offense, this is all within a 12-month period of time on the same listing or failing to take corrective action on the same listing and or same type of rule violation. So first offense, $250, second offense, $500, third offense would be $1,000, and if it's egregious enough, the individual might earn the little golden ticket to a tribunal hearing to explain to his or her peers on why the MLS rules don't apply to them. Just to note, we've had very few people ever get to the second offense category. Next up, what is probably more common right now is that in coming out of COVID, even prior to COVID, we have this little section on the MLS profile and in the listing called showing instructions. And some folks have been getting pretty lazy about following what those rules are. And it's getting to the point where we're getting quite a few showing violations in. And so the MLS committee and the board of directors approved an increase of an automatic fine on a showing violation of $250. So if someone enters your property knowingly and we ultimately have that conversation, they ultimately could face a fine of $250. The next one up is not really such a rules update. It's more of an informational update. There's a lot of these little additional dwelling units that are popping up. We were at a very cool presentation up at the Placer County Association recently, and they talked about how Placer County has really incorporated a new feature through the county planning department where they have preconceived plans where you can get, I think, a 250 square foot, 500 square foot, and a 750 square foot plans for ADUs. The point of this conversation here is we've added a field where you can capture that information. So ADU yes, no selection is now in Prospector with associated fields, and it's available for you today if you're not using it. If you do have a reason to do so, we would encourage you to do that. So now, without further ado, I think we're going to pop into the Q&A. I know that our producers on the back end, there's Melissa and I's favorite picture. It's from the Nevada County event that we did. I think Terry Watson was there. And we certainly can't wait to where we can get in and snap another selfie like this with all of you in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a few questions here, and again, thank you guys for your time. So we're going to field a few of these questions. So here, I have a question. If changes are made to the listing while it is not live and using the OMD, will the changes show in the property history when the listing goes live?
So yeah, I guess there are indicators that changes had been made to the listing prior to it going live. The number one question that we get that we actually have to deal with as staff here is the price change indicator. just to give you an example. So the answer is yes, there is information that's captured in history. And so initially you go out and run your cloud CMA. You understand that the seller's got the property listed incorrectly, but it was as close as you could get. You have some more time. The on-market date has not been reached yet. You have additional conversations with them. You get them to adjust their list price before the on-market date's reached. So you modify that unapproved listing, and ultimately what happens is it causes a little arrow indicator to either show up or down. If that happens and you're concerned about it, call MetroList, call our support department. We will help you mitigate through that.
Okay, so thank you so much. I have another question for you. When can coming soon be used? One day before it goes live?
Well, coming soon is actually can be used in the instance where you have a seller exclusion on file. And some of you turn in the SELM form, which does facilitate that opportunity. It's a signed seller acknowledgement that they understand the detriments of marketing a property off the MLS. There was a recent study that's done up in the DC area that showed that listings sold on the MLS sell for 5 to, I think, as high as 20% higher by virtue of them being exposed to the marketplace. So it is a cooperative. The big thing that CAR has been trying to solve, which I don't know that they'll ever solve, is you have a coming soon members only kind of category where you're willing to advertise the coming soon and share that information with participants and subscribers of the MLS. Almost no MLS has a problem with that. But you also have a coming soon where there is no cooperation, there's no intent to share with any of you on this call. That's where the MLS has a line that we've drawn that we don't think is acceptable.
So lots of questions on coming soon, as always. I mean, we know we get a lot of questions on this, right? So also, is Dave saying that no coming soon signs are allowed? I remember him stating that if we do post coming soon, then the on-market date starts from the date the coming soon sign is posted, discovered.
So not to repeat myself, but the only time you can advertise the coming soon is when you have a waiver, okay? And what that waiver is a permission slip from the seller to market it outside the MLS. So generally what happens is you have a listing date before the coming soon date comes up, right? So if I listed the property on June 1st and I put a waiver into the MLS within the 3 days, and we roll out here to the 18th, 17th, 18th of June, and this miracle of selling it off the MLS in the first 2 weeks doesn't transpire, the agent then lists the property into the MLS or enters it into the MLS. They must input the actual listing date of the property, which would show a days on market accrual of 17 or 18 days. So that's the benefit of using a future on market date is it suppresses that. If you waive your listing off the MLS, it does not suppress that because that doesn't prevent you or prohibit you from marketing the property.
All right, so next I'm going to bring Kristen on. She has a few questions and she was going to ask them aloud. So Kristen, you're on.
Thank you, guys. Had to unmute myself. Melissa, you actually asked many of the questions that seem to be pretty common. But let me just scroll through the list here. I just want to be sure we're not missing anybody's questions, so bear with me.
While Kristen's looking, the other mistake that people make with the waiver is that I gave you examples of Melissa and I talked about her and Brian going on vacation, right? Or staging of a property. You never want to use a waiver to conduct or engage in any of that activity. You want to use a future on market date. You're only punishing yourself, and it's subjective whether or not a days on market accrual would punish you in this market whatsoever. But the idea there is that you don't have to do that. Ultimately, through our experiences, if you do use a waiver for staging and you come up with a two week days on market thing, you're going to get calls or crappy offers that people are going to run it right because there's something, and has to be wrong with the property when you go, no, I just did it for staging. So be sure to use the on-market date instead of a waiver whenever you're staging or to accommodate vacations. Kristen.
Awesome. What is the rule on when a listing has to be marked as pending?
Well, that's I don't have the reference. It's under MLS rules section 10. That's reporting of a listing as sold or changed status. Our change status rules are the same on the active listing as they go to pending. It is a 3-day rule that you got to actually report the pending. Sooner the better, obviously. And again, the only instance where we have problems is where agents will let them linger either in the active status or in the pending status to try to gain more activity where people will call them and ask them about it. So the rules are very specific with the time deadlines.
All right. Can a listing agent have a listing on the MLS and say no showings until a future date? Is that something that we can be fined for?
Yeah, actually, that's MLS Rule 9.1. I happen to know that one. Showings on an active listing must be immediate, subject to tenant rights or any hazardous conditions. Now, so what that means is you put a listing in as active, it must be available to show immediately. You can't delay the showings. One of the tricks that you have to be aware of as buyer's agents out there is in the wording. So they might say appointment for showing start, let's say on Friday, and you go, okay. But then on Friday, you go to run the report and the listing shows that it's pending. Well, it's what they didn't say. They didn't say they weren't accepting offers. They just said that the appointments start for showing of the property on Friday. So sometimes there's a little bit of gamesmanship that takes place with respect to that. But ultimately, that they would have to be made available immediately.
All right. Given our current times, this seems like an appropriate question. We've seen some COVID rule violations. Does that fall under showing rule violations?
COVID rule violations are a Cal OSHA situation and could be a showing violation in a sense that if they did not follow the showing instructions. There was some announcements that came out. I'm not prepared to give you any announcements on whether or not PEDs are required or not, or if CAR has lightened their restrictions with respect to showings. But all of that is currently in flux, and I would refer back to your Association of Realtors to get the directive from them.
All right, thank you.
Great questions, by the way.
Yeah, these are all awesome questions, and you guys have quite a few. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up with the questions, you guys. But just know that if you did ask a question, reach out to compliance with any other questions that you may have. I know that they'll be a great resource. I personally call them all the time. So lean on them. They're wonderful.
All right, you guys. Hey, we know we went over. Honestly, bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for your time. Our passion is just to share with you all this information to help you streamline, your experience in the MLS. You can see here is our contact information below. Melissa Backey, I'm doing free office webinars if you guys want to set up any training with me, as well as Kristen and Anthony. Here's my phone number, my email. Please reach out with any questions. And then we also have the awesome Dave Howe here and all of his contact information that you can reach out to him with. And a big round of applause to Nicole and Kristen. Awesome. Thank you guys for your help today. Truly, we had probably definitely over 400 people in this class today. So thank you again, you guys, for your time. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, and be looking at the broadcast messages. Those are the messages none of you read. Remember, you hit read later or whatever. The rules that we talked about today will be published. You'll have an opportunity to see them and have them. We usually put a summary so you don't have to, dig through the rules to find out which ones we've changed. We'll put a summary right on the first page that'll cover in detail everything that Melissa and I have discussed today. Also, this is the third and part of a series that Melissa and I will do. When something other or else comes up that's exciting for us to get back up here and talk to you about, we will be here. So thank you very much for your time today, and go out and have a safe, warm day.
Bye, you guys.